All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. So, welcome everyone. We are so excited that you're here with us tonight. HOSA is delighted to be partnering with Atlantis for tonight's webinar, How Shadowing Abroad as a Pre-Health Major Impacted My Path. Atlantis is a HOSA elite partner, and we truly appreciate their support of our organization. I'm Aditya Suresh. I have the honor of serving as your International Central Region Vice President, and am privileged to introduce our speakers for tonight. First, we have Tasia Canella, who's a graduate of the University of Florida with a bachelor's in psychology on the pre-medicine track. She's now a first-year medical student at the Florida State University College of Medicine, and Tasia participated in an Atlantis program in Spain back in 2022. We are also joined by Celine Rivera, who graduated from Stony Brook University with a bachelor's degree in biology. She later went on to apply to both PA schools and accelerated nursing programs, ultimately choosing to go the nursing route where she just started her second semester. And finally, we are joined by Leslie Parthery, Vice President of Marketing for Atlantis. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We look forward to hearing from you. And with that, I'll hand it over.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Like you said, my name is Tasia Canella. I'm super excited to get to speak with you all about this program. And then there's Celine. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so for today's discussion, we'll first start to talk about why Atlantis, like what is Atlantis and everything like that. And I was just going through the little thing. And then we'll talk about some alumni outcomes. As you know, Celine and I are alumni. And then we'll talk about what the Atlantis experience entails, and then we'll give some time for questions at the end. So, already you kind of heard a little bit about me, but I'm from West Palm Beach, Florida, went to UF, and now I'm at FSU Medical School. So I'm in my first year, actually started back in May, and it's going good. It's going good. Some fun facts about me. I started undergrad as a business major, actually. So I didn't even know I wanted to do medicine at all. So now I'm here. My first time out of the country was with Atlantis to Spain. It was incredible. Excited to talk more about that. I'm just an active person. I love running, dancing, singing. I really like Wicked, reading, all the stuff. Another fun fact about me is I did get married December 29th. So that's why my name is like changing slowly, getting used to it, but super fun. So yeah, and I also know how to play the trumpet, but marriage. So yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Celine. Like it says here, I'm from Long Island, New York, which you can probably tell from my accent. I did pursue both PA and nursing, so I'm happy to answer any pre-PA, pre-nursing questions you all have. I just realized I never mentioned where I went on my Atlantis program, so I also went to Spain in the summer of 2019. Fun fact about me, I've been to 15 countries. One of my favorites is Costa Rica, so just a little bit more about me.
Nice. So now we'll open up the topic of why Atlantis. So why would you want to go in Atlantis program?
So to start, Atlantis has been a program for 15 years. We've been sending students abroad for a very long time. So on an Atlantis program, you can trust that it's a program that thousands of students before you have gone on and successfully completed and have had a great experience on, including me and Tasia. So yeah, really long running program.
And with that being so long running, there are thousands of alumni over many, many different universities. Like I said, I'm from UF, Stony Brook. Like it really does vast. And what's cool about that is you build a connection to other people that are going to be on their pre-med track no matter what they're doing. And it's just a very cool network that you get to build. And that's just a really big benefit as you're pursuing the medical path. It's not easy, so it's fun to have people from all walks of life to kind of do it with and share this really cool experience with as well.
And then, of course, the most important part are the hospitals that we partner with. These are really great hospitals that you're able to go into and shadow. As someone who has shadowed locally and abroad through Atlantis, it is a completely different experience. You're really able to observe a physician's day-to-day in depth and like be their right-hand person for the day. And also, they have some really cool technology. We've had alum shadow robotic surgeries. I shadowed an anesthesiologist, so I spent a lot of time in the operating room. So you're getting to experience maybe more than you might be able to experience when you shadow locally.
Yes, so the age-old question, what do med schools, nursing schools, PA schools want? I'm sure we're kind of all getting familiar with it slash familiar, but when you talk to someone, an admissions person, anything like that, things that they're really looking for is number one, exposure to healthcare. So they want to know that you know what you want to get into. And it's cool to say you want to do medicine, but yeah, have you ever seen it in person? Like, is that something you're sure you want to do? So that's important. Of course, GPA, MCAT to show that you are able to complete the task that is the med track. So that's very important. And then, going into your personal competencies. So just showing that you're a person who cares for others, that you're organized, that you can get the job done because of all the skills that you've developed. So I think that, yeah, it's just, I mean, we all know it's very important to show those different competencies. So yeah.
Okay. So this slide kind of starts to talk about what I mentioned earlier about how when you shadow abroad, you're, typically able to experience a little bit more than you do locally. Just as an example, I shadowed in a family medicine clinic locally in where I'm from, and it was just a lot more superficial. It's a lot of like repetitive cases, but when you go in an Atlantis program, because you're abroad and in a hospital with, a different healthcare system, different rules, you're just able to see so much more. So like I mentioned, I was able to go into the operating room. I was able to go into like patient one-on-ones, whereas in the United States, that was a little bit more difficult. And then, yeah, so you're just exposed a bit more.
Like another big thing, which is what we talked about, was just how important that grades and, getting a good MCAT score and all those things really are, as you try to pre-qualify for med school. What's really cool about this program is it takes place in the times where you have a break. So, for example, I went in the summer when I was kind of like, okay, what am I going to do this summer? I'm going to research. Am I going to do this? I kind of need shadowing hours. Boom, there's this program to not only let me get my shadowing hours, but I got to go to the country. So what's cool is you get to focus on your grades when you need to be focusing on your grades, like your fall and your spring semesters. And then when it's time for you to go find an extracurricular activity to better prepare you for medical school or a nursing school, PA school, whatever pre-med you're doing, pre-health, that's when you can go on this program. So winter, summer times. I think you're muted, Celine. Celine, I think you're muted.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. So one of the biggest things that I think Tej and I both experienced when we applied to med school, PA school, nursing school is that schools are looking for students who are culturally competent. So when you go on the Atlantis program, you are shadowing physicians who are working under a different healthcare system, who, have a different culture, a different lifestyle. Those are all the things that affect, the way medicine is provided, and you learn about that. So when you're applying to med school, PA school, nursing school one day, you're able to answer questions in a really unique way because you've observed, how a different part of the world practices medicine. That's just one of the competencies. There are many, but I feel like that's one of the most important ones.
Awesome. Yeah. So now we can tell you all a little bit more about our paths to pre-health and to health in general.
Okay. So like I mentioned earlier, I've applied to both PA programs and nursing programs. I have interviewed and been accepted to PA programs, so I feel like I know so much about it. So, like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions that any of you have. And Atlantis, when I did the Atlantis program, I was a pre-PA student, and I feel like it just helped me so much eventually when I applied for quite a few reasons, but these are just a few. The first being shadowing hours. PA programs are unique in the fact that they do have set amount of hours that they want from their students. So for me, it was really beneficial to go on an Atlantis program for only a few weeks, but gain a ton of hours, and just kind of pack them into a short amount of time. So that was beneficial. That checked off the shadowing box for me that some of the programs required that I applied to. Hospital experience is super important. It's really difficult to experience a fast-paced healthcare environment before you're in med school or PA school or nursing school. So to have that experience under your belt beforehand is super beneficial. And then again, can also help you answer application questions like, why do you want to be a PI? And you can say, well, I've experienced a fast-paced healthcare environment and I know that that's for me. And then lastly is cultural awareness, which is kind of what I talked about earlier. A common question I got on every PA supplemental application is about, the US healthcare system, cultural, implications in the US healthcare system. So this experience just helped me answer those questions. Okay. And then eventually I landed on nursing and decided that that was the correct path for me. And Atlantis was still extremely beneficial. I am in my second clinical rotation for nursing school now, and just having Atlantis, under my belt already made me so much more confident going into the hospitals during nursing school. I would have been so nervous if I hadn't already had that experience, especially because I had already gone into the OR and stood in a surgery for hours on end. So like what I'm doing now is not even close to that. So it makes it a lot more comfortable, like at least in my experience. And then also patient care. So I specifically went to Spain on my program, and something unique about Spain is that they have a very different culture than what I'm used to. It's a lot more affectionate and warm. So seeing that between physicians and patients was super eye-opening for me, and it helped me realize that I love like the patient side of things, patient care, being there with patients on their day-to-day, which is a huge part of the nursing career. So that helped me ultimately decide as well.
Amazing, Celine. Cool. So a little bit about my path. So as I spoke about before, I actually started out medical school. I'm not, what am I talking about? I started out undergrad as a business major. And I chose business management because I was like, it's really people oriented. It'll be super cool. This is good. And then after some time, I just decided that I want to be more involved in people's like personal lives, and something that we all care about is health. It affects us all. So I thought that would be a cooler path. And I made this decision during COVID, which was a little crazy because COVID, and it was really hard to get in a hospital to do anything at all. So for me, this program, Atlantis, helped my own path because it helped me to confirm my passion. I think that so I started the pre-med track in 2020, and then getting to finally shadow in 2022 was finally my moment to like really get into a hospital and see like I'm doing all the classes, getting all this stuff done. Is this what I want? So I feel like that was a really big thing. And after going on the program, I was like, yeah, I want to be a doctor. I really like it. I love the interaction you get. So that was a really big thing for me that Atlantis did confirm my passion. And next, just explore interests. Celine did like bring this up, but in this program, you get to see basically one different specialty per week. That was what I experienced. And what was really cool about that was I got to see so much, and then the doctors would be like, "Oh, do you want to see this too?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." So it just really opens your eyes to just the different like flavors that are there in medicine and like what you could be dealing with and how they all treat their patients. And I think that was something really cool that Celine mentioned. But they're very like kiss on both cheeks, hug, all this stuff, and it was so cool to see. And it just reminded me like of why I really love people and love that interaction and would want to be a physician. So that was really cool. Explore my interests, saw many cool things, surgeries, all the above. And then also just tell my story. I love talking, and I love to tell a story. And I feel like being able to tell about an impactful experience I had during an interview just changed the interview. And it felt less like they're drilling me to see if I'm ready to be in med school. And we're like, oh, they're trying to understand like all these cool things I got to do and who I am. So I just feel like the ability to tell the story of, like, going to Atlantis and how, like, impactful that was for me just made the interviews process so fun. Like, I love the interviews were fun because when they ask you about yourself, it's like, "Well, I did this really cool thing," and then it's cool, like, "Who shadowed abroad?" Like, it's really cool. So, I would say it just made the whole process at ease, so yeah.
So I guess now we can cover like what the Atlantis experience is all about, how you would go about applying, all the important stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. So when it comes to the timeline, a big thing that we want to make sure everyone knows is that you have to be 18 years or older by the travel date to apply. So that is just something to keep in mind. So basically that you can complete the application. It's pretty simple. It's pretty doable. Get that application done, then you'll be going into a virtual admissions discussion. And in that, you'll get to learn more about the program, talk about which programs you're interested in, everything like that. And then 2 weeks from that, you would choose to enroll. You have time 2 weeks from that to choose to enroll or to not enroll. And then you'll have forms to complete. And then as time goes on, it's about like 3 to 2 months before your program, you'll actually have a pre-departure call. We'll get to learn more about just the program that you'll be going on. You'll get to also see the other students, which is really cool. Just get some more information on your program in general. And then you're there. So it's a really cool process. It's pretty organized and it was really awesome. The pre-departure call is really cool because it's real at that time too. So yeah.
Okay, and then this is your schedule when on the program. So let's say you go on a 3-week program, the schedule will just repeat each of those 3 weeks. So Monday through Thursday are the hospital days. You do about 5 hours of shadowing a day in one department per week. So you are able to experience all different specialties, maybe explore your interests a little bit. As an example, I shadowed orthopedics, 1 week, and then anesthesiology the next week. So you switch, each week. So 20 hours altogether each week. Then you typically have free time for the rest of the day, or you have a group meal to check back in with your group and your city manager. Friday is your excursion day, so some type of all-day activity set up by your city manager. You have group lunch on that day as well together, and then Saturday and Sunday are free days to explore, travel, do whatever it is that you'd like to do with your time abroad. Fun fact on my program, I went to Madrid for the weekend and got to explore that city, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And honestly, going off of that, also had so many fun like weekend trips. So yeah, got to see the Black Eyed Peas in concert. Crazy. There's just some cool things you get to do while you're abroad. But yeah, so just in general, some things to expect, some pre-departure sneak peeks as we call it. Knowing about housing. So basically the housing is included. And all the housing is very centrally located, center of the city, that kind of thing. Transportation is also included to get to the hospital and stuff like that. So that's not something you'd have to work out by yourself. That's all organized. But yeah, what's really cool about where you live, like for example, when I stayed in Vigo, Spain, we were like at the center of the city, walking distance to a Zara, to all these different places. It was just really amazing and it felt very safe. And you're going to be housed with the other students too. So yeah. So I think that's really cool. The rooms can vary and however that will look per program. Just depends on where you're placed and everything like that, like what kind of housing. But yeah, for my experience personally, I really enjoyed the housing. Like I said, walking distance, we found a gym and we did Zumba classes because that's something you can do. So it's just very accessible and safe. And you're surrounded by the other students.
So, of course, a big question is always how safe is the program? What is safety like? One of the biggest things about being on the program is that you are with other students and you tend to stick together. So, like on my program, we always did the commute to the hospital together. There's small groups of about 10 to 20 students, so you get to know everyone really well. You make friends, and again, you just stick together. So you don't have to worry about like being alone abroad. And then, of course, you have your city manager who oversees your program and is there, throughout your program. They check in throughout the week. You have their phone number. You're constantly on WhatsApp talking to them, and just checking in. And then there is a health insurance included in the cost of the program. That is just, for emergencies in case you get sick or hurt or anything like that. And just going off of what Tasia said, I also felt super safe on my program. I just stuck with, the friends that I made on the program. I checked in with my city manager and it was all great.
Yeah, and I kind of mentioned this before, but the transportation from the housing to the hospital is included. Like Celine, we like traveled as a group to the hospital and back. So that was really cool. As also upon your arrival off the plane, there is going to be staff there during a specific window, and they'll be there to help you and get you to your next step to get to your housing and everything like that. Something important to know is that airfare is not included. However, as you're planning ahead, it can be really affordable, as it says. and our team can help with that. But yeah.
And then, of course, meals. So you might have seen on the schedule that, breakfast is provided every day, and then there are other meals throughout the week that are also provided. And then it's also a really cool way to just experience another culture, try their traditional dishes. If you have dietary restrictions, that's definitely taken into account. I'm a vegetarian, so that's always important to me to make sure that I have options, at meals. So yeah, this is just a little sneak peek of that, but it's cool to try new fun dishes, especially when abroad. Um, yes, Spanish food was really good. Okay. So now we can open the floor to any questions you all might have for us about the program, about our experience, maybe med school, PA school, nursing school questions. We're happy to answer them. There's a chat if you all want to type them in there. Okay, I can answer a question that I see in here twice about the cost of the program, overall cost. There are a range of programs, so they also range in cost. It depends on where you go, how long you go. All of our programs, city, dates, prices are listed on our website at joinatlantis.com. They typically start at about, just under $3,000. So I would take a look at the website. There are a ton of options. So definitely take a look at that, but that's the overall cost of the program.
And I see a question about how long did we go abroad for? So I personally went to Vigo, Spain for 4 weeks. So that was really awesome. It was a perfect amount of time for me. So I just really enjoyed that because it gave a chance to like get settled in and everything like that. But any length program that works for you is good. And you can see on the website, like Selena was saying, there's many different um places and time lengths you can go for. So it really is up to you. You get to choose your program based upon what you choose on the website.
And I went for 2 weeks. If I could go back, I'd probably do 3 weeks or longer, but at the time I just chose 2 weeks. And then I'll answer a question I see about what helped me decide between PA and nursing, and did study abroad contribute to that decision? 100% yes. The biggest thing that helped me decide is experience. I got as much experience as possible, and ultimately I just knew what was right for me, and Atlantis was a big contributor to that. So I would say just get as much experience as possible. If you can in a hospital setting like through Atlantis, because you're able to observe healthcare teams, which includes nurses, doctors, techs, things like that. So that helped me a lot. Um, and ultimately, it helped me decide.
I see a question about what kind of specialties will you be able to like experience and everything like that. It really does vary. I feel like from what I got to see neurology. I got to see general surgery. I feel like that's a really common one. General surgery is like mostly surgery. I got to see vascular surgery, OBGYN case, consultation, anything from like consultations to procedures and everything like that. So it's wide. It depends on what's available. And that's also not really something you can know before you go on the program too, but you can put in a request, right? To like say like which ones you want to see. So honestly, I just went there with like open mind and had some requests and I got some. So that was cool.
I was the same way, also went into it with an open mind because at the end of the day, med schools, PA schools, they don't want to see that you were set on one particular thing. They want, a broad range of experience. So even if it wasn't something I wanted, like orthopedic surgery, I still really enjoyed it and I got plenty out of it. And then I saw a question early on about housing, just to go over it again. So, housing is typically one of three things, either an apartment building, student housing, or hotel. You can typically expect to have a roommate, and they are split up by gender. So that's what to expect out of the housing. Like Tasia said earlier, all the students are in the same like building, so you feel pretty comfortable in the fact that you're all together. I can continue. Um, Someone said, are these slides available anywhere else? I'm not sure if they're going to be shared with you, but a lot of this information is on our website. We have a ton of helpful tabs on our website, like the schedule, what's included, the cost, where our programs are located. So definitely check out our website for that information.
Mhm. And I see a question, what would we do on weekend nights? Super fun question. So we both mentioned that we actually like traveled a little bit. So one weekend, like literally the whole group of students, we took a train, we went to Puerto Rico. I mean, not Puerto Rico, we went to Porto. Like what the heck? Puerto Rico. So that was really cool. We just took a train there. Like I said, you could go see concerts, festivals. You just have to be back by the time you're shadowing on Monday. And you also do let your site manager know, just so they can know what's going on and stuff like that and keep track and just help you out too. You can ask your site manager for recommendations. Oh, where should we go? And then what's really fun is Fridays, as Celine mentioned, there are excursions, which are included in the cost of the program, and they're really awesome. Your site manager kind of organizes like a fun event for your people, and you kind of get to go off that. So we kind of use that to our advantage, and we're like, okay, since we'll be here, let's go here. So it's really free and up to you. You can stay in, you can go, it's whatever you want to do.
I see a question about if you go with a friend, can you be roommates? Absolutely. We have friends enroll together all the time. Just be sure to mention that like during your interview. But you can definitely do that. Um, and then I saw a question about, the age requirement. So you have to be 18 at the time of travel to be able to attend a program. But you can apply before that if you're interested in a season that, you'll be 18. So for example, if you know you're interested in summer 2025 and you'll be 18 by that time, you can apply now. For summer 2026, you can apply when we release those programs if you'll be 18 in the summer of 2026. So just keep that in mind.
I see a question about, do we get to have input on the types of physicians that we're able to shadow? So, yes, you can. You can make requests if there are any specific specialties you want to see and everything like that. Kind of like Celine and I were saying, like nothing is really guaranteed, like specialty wise and stuff like that. However, they do their best to match you, like with where you're asking and everything like that. So, and also I liked to talk to the physicians and be like, so anything you can show like kind of just asking. And for me, I shadowed mostly I shadowed doctors. So I didn't, Celine, maybe you can talk a little bit more on this, but like if you want to shadow like a nurse or anything like that. But for me, I was looking to shadow doctors, and that's, I kind of focused on that. But you can be with a team, but yeah.
Yep, exactly. Same for me. The typical like professional that you're paired up with is a physician or a doctor. But as someone who applied to PA school, almost all of the programs that required shadowing, it like accepted the shadowing hours if it was like a doctor, a PA, a nurse practitioner. So you could definitely like interchange there. But it was mostly doctors for me as well. I saw a good question. Do you have to know the language of the city you're going to? You do not. That's not a requirement for the program. When you're shadowing, the physicians will speak to you in English, so that's beneficial. Oh, just got another question like that. So yeah, language is not a requirement.
I saw a good question about can loco shadowing help prepare for the abroad shadowing, or are they somewhat different? So I would say that's it. Like, I feel like that's really interesting because to prepare for the shadowing is just, you're just learning. So there's not really a way to prepare. Like you don't really prepare for like local per se for local shadowing, neither would you for abroad. You know what I mean? I feel like you just go in to learn, and they know that you don't know. So that's the fun part about it, is it's just like an opportunity to learn. I feel like the only difference in abroad shadowing is just like, you're in a different country. Maybe if you wanted to prepare for abroad shadowing, just like learn about the culture, you know what I mean? Like if that was something you're interested in. And of course, go into the situation with good attitude and be ready to, just being open. But I feel like they're mostly similar, except for like, oh, I'm in another country, let me be aware of the normalities in this country and the norms and stuff. But other than that, you're not expected to know anything in particular. The doctors are more than happy to help you. That's why they're there. So, yeah.
I saw a few questions about the admissions process and like if there's a test to get in. So, like we went over earlier, there's an initial application. And then after that, you'd be prompted to schedule a two-way interview, which is really just a conversation about your interests, where you'd like to go on the program, all of that. So there is no test. Um, and there is no like GPA requirement or anything like that. So don't be too worried. As long as this is something that aligns with your future goals in medicine, you'd likely be okay.
Ooh, I see a question about conflicts with med schools accepting these shadowing hours. Yeah, I had no problems at all. And I applied for many medical schools. Um, and I was very thankful that that went very well. So, it's very interesting when you're inputting it into your application, like on why can't I did it like last year and I can't even remember what it's called. On AMCAS, when you're applying, it doesn't matter. It's like I actually chose this program as like one of my top experiences. Like you get to choose three that you can use extra characters on, and I chose this program because it helped me decide that I really wanted to do it. So I had like people like wanted to learn more about like, oh, how was it in Spain and all that stuff. But for me personally, I didn't experience any hindrances in like any of my applications. It was more of like a point of conversation. Like they could tell I learned a lot from it. So that was most important. That is my experience. So yeah.
I don't know if we answered this yet, but just in case, I see a question that says, do you get to choose which country you travel to? Yes, each student gets to decide which program they go to, as long as there's still availability, you can go there, but it is up to the student to decide, which is exciting because there are so many great options, that you might even find yourself in a position where you can't decide because there are so many good options. I can answer the question, when is the application due? There's no specific deadline. We run on enrolling admissions, but again, just keep in mind that you only want to apply if you'll be 18, when you're interested in traveling. So if you'll be 18 in the summer of 2025 and you want to go this summer, you can apply now. But just keep in mind you only want to apply if you'll be 18 by the date of departure of the program that you're interested in. And how long can you stay? There are a complete range of programs from 1 to 9 weeks. So Tasia stayed for 4 weeks. I stayed for 2 weeks. You could stay for less, longer. Those are all on our website.
I see a question about this slideshow and everything like that. I do think there is a recording. I do think that. So I don't know. I don't think the slides particularly be sent out. However, a recording of this presentation will be sent out. So yeah.
I can answer the question, would you recommend applying more than 2 times in a row? I wouldn't. Once you apply, we'll always have your application. So if you reapply, you'll just go back to the beginning when you're already like, your application is already submitted and you likely have already received emails from us. If you're asking because you're worried about like maybe not receiving an acceptance, again, I wouldn't be too worried about that. When you have the interview, it's really a conversation that goes over like your goals in medicine in the program and ensuring that the program aligns with that. So as long as you have a, genuine interest in medicine, you should be good to go. But I wouldn't recommend applying multiple times because you'll just start receiving like the same emails over and over. But we'll always get back to you if you apply the first time.
Yep. And yeah, so we have a couple more minutes for any last questions, literally about anything, our nursing slash PA slash med school career or anything like that. But yeah, if anybody has any last questions, we would be super happy to answer. But if not, all
Miss
good.
Miss Tasia and Celine, just wanted to say from HOSA, thank you so much for providing your wonderful perspectives and all the great information about Atlantis. I know we might have another couple questions, but just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you for sharing your expertise. We're so appreciative of Atlantis' support of HOSA, and it seems like such a great program. Thank you.
Of course. I see a question about are there any things that we can do as students? No, they are not, because we are not qualified. We're just students. So it's just a lot of observing, getting to speak with the doctors. They're really awesome at answering any questions you have and like are so willing to make you see things. So honestly, at the end of the day, you feel exhausted. Even though you're just watching, you feel exhausted. And like I just performed like 7 surgeries in my head. So it gets exhausting, but it's really cool.
Yep, I would 100% agree with that. Like the doctors were not shy when they told us to get closer in the OR. Of course, we didn't break sterile fields, but they want you to be able to experience as much as possible. So you don't have any specific responsibilities, but you get to see a ton.
I see a good question about are there any additional experiences that made our applications more vivid, something similar or different to abroad. So I feel like a big, I don't know, I just feel like a thing that's so helpful is like do things you're passionate about. Because when you're interviewing, when you're writing your application, like they can tell if you're not passionate about it, it's kind of like, well, you're bored writing about it and they're bored listening to you. So just do things that you actually care about. Like I said, I was a business major when I started. And most of my experiences were more like leadership things. Like I was an orientation leader at UF because that was like my thing that I liked, and like being like a mentor or being a TA for a class that I really enjoyed, just to show the ways I cared. And then of course you get your pre-health experiences, but just things that really like write your story and what you're interested in. I think that that's just like the biggest thing. So like I said, I was like a mentor, I was a TA for a psychology of sexuality class. Like you just find the things you're really interested in and it just shows your story. So I feel like anything you're passionate about, taking care of dogs, I don't know. It can be anything.
I would agree with that 100%. I love to travel. So that was a huge reason I did Atlantis because it combined, the two things that I was really passionate about. And then, like Tasia mentioned earlier, the schools can detect that and just becomes a big point of conversation. So another reason, Atlantis was super beneficial on my path.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for coming out. I almost said tonight, but who knows what time it is there. So today, really appreciate all of your time. I hope that we gave you lots of good information. I hope you apply to Atlantis. It's very cool, and wish you all the best in your pre-health journeys and everything like that.